The anticipation of the Mariners' next move is not only driving us wild, but TJ and Lyle from the Marine Layer podcast as well. We'll talk about it all with those guys coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Titan Gonzalez. I'm a lifelong Mariners fan who's been covering the team for over half a decade. And today, my co-host Colby and I, we're going to catch up with TJ Mathewson and Lyle Goldstein of the Marine Layer podcast to talk all about this stagnant Mariners offseason. But before we do, I want to shout out our title sponsor today, FanDuel. Playoff football is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Been a little while since we last talked to these guys, but pleased to have them back on. The hosts of the Marine Layer podcast and Bullpen Banter. It is Lyle Goldstein and TJ Mathewson. How's it going, boys?
Would be better with another bat.
Yeah, we'll get into that. That would be great. I wish we had more to talk about, but guys, we mostly brought TJ and Lyle on here just so you could have two different voices telling you basically the same thing that we've been telling you for the last, 6 or so weeks. Hopefully that will keep things fresh here on Locked On.
The best way to describe the current state of the offseason for us is that if the words Brendan Donovan get said, it starts triggering PTSD.
Yeah, it's just like, ugh.
However the PTSD you want to label it. Is it anxiety? Is it freaking out? Is it thinking the Mariners are going to win 84 games? I don't know what it is, but I mean, every time now you see the Jeff Passan tweet on Tuesday morning, you're like, something? And it's like, no, actually it's nothing. It's still nothing.
Which, by the way, how odd, right? Because Passan never tweets rumors. He always just has news, and he's always breaking it. But I joked around that he's as bored as everybody else right now with where the offseason's at, with nothing going on. He's like, you know what? Why don't I just tweet out a rumor, get people talking?
Screw it. Might as well. Let's just get the people going. I mean, yeah, it was more exciting than nothing, I guess. John Morosi tweeted about the Mariners and Brendan Donovan again like a few days ago. And I was like, cool.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Colby sent me that over the weekend. And he was like, look, a new Mariners rumor. And I was like, oh, yeah. Cool. Great. Yeah. So
fun.
Yeah. So it's that's been the story of the offseason. I mean, it's better than last offseason. I'll tell you that.
We do always think about that sometimes. Like, well,
yeah,
you can consider where the Mariners were at about 365 days ago, where I don't even think they had Solano signed at this point, did they?
No, Colby and I talked about this. It was late that they signed Solano. Actually, we might be around that time now. I think it was sometime in mid-January that it happened.
Roki had signed at this point, and the odds, like the optics of the offseason were getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I do think some people, a lot of the times for this offseason, like there are objective flaws still with the Mariners team that they can address right now, the lineup. But I think people forget they signed Josh Naylor like 9 days into the offseason. I think people just forget. Like they assumed he just never left the team. Like, no, they did have to sign him and add him to the team. Yeah, he was already on the team before the offseason started, but that doesn't change the fact they made a real impact signing this offseason. They could have just let him walk. And if it was a similar financial state to last offseason, Josh Naylor wouldn't be a Mariner right now. He'd be somewhere else.
Doing it right off the rip was crazy. Like I can't remember a time that, like, even though that it was, he came back to the team that he was with. So I can't remember a time that like a free agent as high profile as Josh Naylor, like signing that quickly into the offseason. And again, like to your point, it's just like you almost kind of forget about it because it was just so quick, right? It was like right off the crazy playoff run, right? Like we just kind of like we were starting to come down from the high of that, and then all of a sudden, boom, Josh Naylor's back. Everyone celebrate.
Right. I guess he just knew what he wanted, right? I mean, both sides seemed to know very, very clearly what they wanted. Naylor must have not wanted to sit around all winter in free agency, because I thought there was going to be a side to that where he wanted to see what Pete Alonso was going to get, and he was going to wait out Pete's market, and that was going to be not a rebound, but he was going to establish, and his camp was going to establish his worth based off that. But no, I mean, it was pretty clear. It's like, I know where I want to be. I know the team I want to play for. Just give me what I'm worth and give me a fair deal, and we'll get this done. And credit to all parties, they did.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I had this thought in the back of my head going into the offseason that like Pete's going to sign somewhere, and then Josh Naylor, like the Mets are going to throw a bunch of money at Josh Naylor. And funny enough, that kind of happened, but with Jorge Polanco.
I mean, if Josh Naylor was still a free agent, that would have happened. And I would have been really nervous to see like Josh Naylor gets, let's compare to the Jorge Polanco deal. Let's say Josh Naylor got like $130 million offer, $120 million offer from the Mets. Like, what do you decide then? Are you going 92 and a half somewhere you want to be, or are you getting someone who's going to overpay by 30% on your contract to try and get you?
I don't know. Josh Naylor never seemed like a New York type of guy to me. I don't think he wants to deal with that media. I never really saw the Mets as a real threat there. But yeah, it is crazy they got it done so quickly, and thank goodness they did, because could you imagine the panic right now?
Oh my God.
If they hadn't gotten that done, and you know, I guess maybe they have signed Polo, but I don't know, whatever. Like, it would be, it's 2024 all over again. And we're already starting to see this fan base kind of panic a little bit about like, oh, they're out of options. They got nobody left, you know, sign Bo Bichette. It's like, that was never going to happen. Like, why are you panicking about that? So yeah, they hadn't gotten Naylor done when they did. Like, whew, man, this off season would be so much like worse to cover than it already is.
It's funny to me over the last few weeks, you know, after Naylor signed, people were like, that's great. That's all I wanted this offseason. I don't care if they do anything else this offseason. And now that they like haven't really done anything else, you're starting to, I was always like, that's not true. And now that like it's been very quiet, you're starting to see people crack and be like, okay, what else are we doing here, guys? Like,
yeah.
I'm with you guys. I never bought into that. I really wanted Josh Naylor back. I knew how important he was going to be. But this idea that you could just settle the rest of the offseason after that never sat right with me. I think what I laid out, and you guys can let me know where you sat too, was I said, bring your two premier hitters back that are going to be hitting free agency in Polanco and Naylor. And then I said, unfortunately, this one's not going to happen. But I said, go get a premier bullpen arm too. I still feel like, and have felt like for a while, that getting a fourth guy behind Brash, Munoz, and Spire was pretty important, and you saw it pop up at points in the postseason. We saw him almost trade for Joan Duran last summer, where you see, I mean, you sit there and say to yourself, the team clearly believes that they want another leverage bullpen arm. Maybe Ferrer ends up being that, but it is more of a project you're taking on with him with the hope that he will turn into that rather than somebody that's more established. So that was where my list was at. And I think when it's all said and done, they will go get the second bat one way or another. At least I hope so. But the bullpen arm thing seems like it might have to be a wait and see until July.
You said one other thing too.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, Kyle Tucker, yeah. But Ty said I can't say that name.
I will turn this car around. More from our conversation with TJ and Lyle in just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, and get this, for the first time ever here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, the Space Needle. That's right. Football playoffs are here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks and apply your profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Pint and a Pie at the Space Needle is the perfect pregame or pre-funk spot before hitting Climate Pledge Arena. After 4 p.m., the Space Needle's Pint and a Pie gives you the whole package. Entry, a sweet or savory tip-top pie, and a pint of beer, wine, or a non-alcoholic drink, all for just $35 per person. Minimum purchase of 2 required. Pint and a Pie is your launch pad to tonight's concert at Climate Pledge. Or if you're going to a Kraken Storm or touring game in the future, why not enjoy a little space and a great view while pre-gaming with your favorite cocktail rather than trying to cram into a crowded sports bar? Toast the home team, then roll into Climate Pledge with the best pregame story in Seattle. Whether it's date night, friend night, or you're just here for the deal of it all, come take your place on the horizon for only $35 per person. Limited time offer, 21 plus only, ID required. Get tickets at spaceneedle.com. Minimum 2 required. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Mariners with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Now back to our conversation with TJ and Lyle. So I am curious from all three of you at this point now, like, what's the most ideal outcome to you guys? TJ, you can start.
Brendan Donovan.
Yeah.
Just like so it gets done so we can stop talking about him, at least in the hypothetical sense. We can talk about him in the real sense. And B, I actually think he's the best fit out there. Colby mentioned before, like, Bichette was never coming to Seattle. Number one reason he's not coming to Seattle is because of the money. Clearly, they're not going to pay him that kind of contract. Number two, where does Bo Bichette fit? Crickets, exactly. He's got nowhere to fit on the Mariners because he's not a good defender, and the Mariners have clearly stated they have young infielders who want to get a lot of playing time out there and doesn't offer the same versatility that Donovan does, and Donovan doesn't cost you as much money. On top of that, are we so sure Brendan Donovan's going to be that much worse of a hitter than Jorge Polanco is? For their careers, you guys know who a better hitter is by WRC plus, Jorge Polanco or Brendan Donovan?
I'd assume Donovan. He's very consistent.
It's Donovan, Jorge Polanco has shown a higher ceiling. I believe Polanco has a higher ceiling. But Polanco's also never really shown us the version of what he did last year before. So why now at age, what he'll be 32 years old, that he'll do it again? Like, I never bought into that when it came to, it's such a big loss for Jorge Polanco. Yeah, it's a loss. But people were worried, oh my God, we're never going to get the 2025 version of Polanco again. It's like, if you signed him, you also probably weren't getting that 2025 version of Polanco. So why don't you get someone who's younger, who can play more positions, and who probably year over year is going to be a better hitter than Jorge Polanco? Not as much power, but he is going to produce offensively for you and give you just a whole bunch of options to use.
Yeah, to your point, TJ, I said this a few weeks ago, back when Polo still was unsigned. Like, I think you're a better team with Brendan Donovan than with Jorge Polanco, because I think Polo's going to regress. Like, I don't think he's a 130 WRC plus guy. Like, I think he's going to regress. I don't think that means that he's going to fall off a cliff. I just think he's going to regress back to being, the 115, 120 WRC plus guy that he was most years in Minnesota. Well, Brendan Donovan is also a 115 to 120 WRC plus guy. Yeah. And,
they injury problems.
Yeah, they do it differently, but honestly, I think Donovan, who's more contact oriented, fits the ballpark a little bit better, even though that Polo proved that he can hit at T-Mobile Park. I think Donovan just overall is a better fit offensively, and he's a better fit for the roster, especially with how much the Mariners want to try and give some runway to Cole Young and Colt Emerson and Ben Williamson. And also, just it allows them to kind of rotate guys more. And, Donovan can play 5 times, 6 times a week, but do it at second base, third base, left field, DH, etc. Like, it's just, to me, Donovan, for all the things that he brings to the table, just a way better fit than Jorge Polanco. So long as they are able to get that done, to me, I think that's a win for them.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think I was probably a little more attached to Polanco than TJ was, where I was very set on the idea of bringing him back. Now, at $20 million a year, is obviously where I got cold feet, like most people. And you just have to understand, okay, that is Steve Cohen massively overpaying the rest of the market because they're getting nervous after losing Pete Alonso. So I get it. I think what I had started to buy into, and I think this is what the Mariners had started to buy into a little bit in terms of quote unquote running it back with what they had last year for the most part, and running a lot of the same group they had back last year. I did start to think to myself think about all the names they've tried to bring in over the years with different profiles to try to beat the Seattle offensive issues that it often brings hitters, and how many times it hasn't worked. Where you bring in somebody like Jesse Winker, who had a great awareness of the strike zone when he was in Cincinnati, and he was a gap-to-gap guy, and he would produce offense in that way. Comes to Seattle, awful. Teoscar Hernandez, it's like, well, he destroys left-handed pitching and hits the ball as hard as just about anybody in Major League Baseball. He'll just rip right through the marine layer all season. He was fine, but he was not what anybody thought he was going to be. He was a little disappointing. And then Polanco and Garver in 24 too. Similar idea, different profiles than Polanco, but they said to themselves, okay, let's try 2 more guys. Didn't work either. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, all right, if they finally have a formula that works with guys that can hit here, I can buy into the idea of running the team back. So yeah, I was a little bummed to see him lose Polanco. And I'm not saying that you can't find anybody else outside of Seattle that'll come to T-Mobile Park and hit, but I guess I just started to buy into the idea of running the group back a little bit more. That being said, Donovan's profile doesn't feel like one that should fall off anywhere. When you strike out as little as he does, and you walk as much as he does, and you can play all the different positions that he does, yeah, that's going to be a very valuable addition to the team. And here we go, talking about Brendan Donovan again. But if you add him to the roster, it does a lot, not just for your chances to win in 26, but the idea to play your young guys too, and often, because he can move around so much. Where as much as I like Horner, it does make things a little murky for Cole Young, because what happens if you bring in Horner? All his values at second base. So not that I'd be opposed to it. It's just that with the idea of Donovan, you can still do everything that you want to and try to win in 26 while playing your young guys.
Yeah. My view is a little bit different than everybody's, which is good. I don't care about blocking Cole Young.
Colby has a different view than everyone else.
I don't care about blocking Cole Young. Like what did Cole Young do last year to show that he deserves to be handed second base? Nothing. Nico Hoerner is a 4.5, 5-win player. Cole Young, like that's his ceiling, and he's not going to reach it this year. So I don't care so much about that. I know the Mariners do though. So you have to try and account for that a little bit. I still think Hoerner is the best player that they could get. I just don't think they can actually get him. Like, if that makes sense. I don't think the Cubs and the Mariners are going to line up too well in a trade right now. I put the odds at like, I don't know, 5%, if that. Yeah. Donovan is certainly a much more likely guy to be traded. I think he is a very good fit. Obviously, the Mariners really like him, so he's the easy guy to kind of point at. But from my perspective, honestly, I wouldn't mind if they just went completely like off the beaten path, and we're talking about somebody we haven't discussed all winter, because that would be fun. And after this offseason I've had to sit through, I think I deserve to have a little bit of fun. So now the problem is I don't know who that guy is. Like, I was
about to ask, like, do you have a name in mind? Because I feel like we have exhausted every option. I don't even just mean TJ I mean you guys, other people that talk about the Mariners, etc. Like, do you have another idea in mind?
I mean, I've brought up a couple ideas in the past. I don't think they're particularly good. Like every player that you bring up, there's an obvious reason why, he doesn't fit here. But like Isaac Paredes plays third base, plays second base actually pretty well, somewhat oddly. Obviously he's got the pull power, but he doesn't hit the ball hard at all. So it's kind of, how does that play at T-Mobile Park and all that? But he's a right-handed hitter. He's 26, 27. You get him for 2 years. But again, do the Astros want to trade him to you? I don't know. And then Luis Robert, we've talked about a lot, and he was very good in the second half of last year over his last 60 games or so, but also he's making $20 million. And the previous year and a half, he was really, really bad. And he plays right field, he plays left field, he can play center field for you very well, and he can DH, so you're not blocking any of your young guys unless you are worried about blocking Dominic Canzone. I mean, whatever.
I guess the biggest surprise would be a true outfielder.
Yeah, I like, and I've mentioned Ramon Laureano in the past, but I mean, it's real hard to trust Laureano's 2025 is like, that's who he is, because that's not who he's ever really been. So I say I want these like new exciting names, and it'd be fun to, go off the beaten path here. But unless there is just like an absolute dark horse out there that we just assume isn't available, Donovan's probably the best you can do at this stage. I personally like Cronenworth quite a bit relative to most people. I think he's an underrated player. I get the concern about the contract. It's not the money, it's the years, yada, yada. But Cronenworth is perpetually underrated. He's a solid player, and he can play multiple spots for you. But again, the contract and trying to look at this through the Mariners lens and how they operate. Ketel Marte probably would have been the best you could do, but obviously that's not happening anymore. So I think ultimately, as fun as it is to try and come up with new names and look at different players, all roads circle back to Donovan as probably being the best you can do this winter at this stage.
I think Horner would have had the best chance to make the biggest impact, because not only would he be the best player, arguably even better than Ketel Marte because of the youth and the fact he's an excellent defender and he's an excellent base runner as well. Two things the Mariners were not good at last year. They were not a good base running team, and they were not a good defensive team. So to add a premier player at both of those would be unbelievable, and I think the value would be great. The Cubs only do that if you're giving them a weakness that they have. And their only real weakness right now as a baseball team is frontline starting pitching. And you're not trading one of your big league starters for, and it honestly wouldn't even be like a Bryce Miller. It would be Logan Gilbert.
Well, bullpen a bit too. I saw you, Lyle Short, talking about Nico a couple days ago. And I quote tweeted it with some thoughts. To me, like, it kind of seems like you guys feel like it's going to be because it's not going to happen because the Cubs are going to ask for the world, like they're going to ask for Logan Gilbert, or whatever. To me, more so, I think the reason that it's not going to happen is just like, I think the Cubs would actually maybe be interested in like Gabe Spire plus a prospect or something like that. Or maybe they even get to a point where it's like, okay, we have Shaw, our lineup is deep enough, and the up the middle market right now, there's just so much demand. If the Mariners come waving like two of their top 10 prospects at us, maybe that's too much value to just pass up on, because we feel comfortable enough with what we have already that we can survive it and still compete for a championship in 2026. That said, though, the Mariners roster just frankly is not deep enough where swapping out a major leaguer for a major leaguer makes much sense for them. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. And on there, we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. Now back to our conversation with TJ and Lyle.
I think with Nico, I think there's a path where you can get him without giving up one of your arms. Starting pitcher arms, but I think that path is like Matt Brash and Las Montes, and it's like, okay, like, are you better in 2026? Yeah, but like, how do you replace Matt Brash? You don't, and this team is just not deep enough. The roster is not deep enough yet to kind of make these trades. The Mariners farm system is very good, but it's very top heavy. You don't really have these like B tier, like, hey, this guy can come up and be a really good, seventh inning guy. This guy can play. You don't really have that group. Like, all your prospects that carry trade value to get even an average big leaguer are all like top 100 type of prospects. So the Mariners don't have the farm system really to build out a bulk package. They don't really have a roster to trade from an area of strength, because right now the Mariners don't really have an area of strength per se.
And in a year, maybe like Teddy McGraw and Griffin Hughes create that kind of like second tier of prospects, Corbin Dickerson, etc. But right now it's just a lot of those guys are guys that you just drafted that no one knows really what they are. And then Teddy McGraw's thrown 30 professional innings.
Something like that in 3 years.
And then after that, we're talking about Brock Rodden and some of the other reliever types that they just drafted, like Lucas Kelly in them, so yeah.
Sure. And look, trades of prospects and even relievers that are big league relievers might be worth it if you thought you were going to extend Horner once you got him. But for a guy that with another good walk year is probably getting $150+ million on the open market, I can't imagine he wants to sign an extension.
Yeah, I guess the other thing too, from the Cubs perspective and potentially them actually wanting to take advantage of the market and all that, is do we know if the QO is still going to be a thing next year after the new CBA is agreed upon?
I have no idea if anything's going to be a thing next year after the CBA.
Yeah. So like maybe the Cubs look at that and they're like, all right, well, we're probably not bringing Nico back. Well, we don't like what happened with Matt Shaw in September and all that, and him leaving the team. He's probably our best option to be the second baseman of the future here in Chicago for the time being. Like, let's just give him runway now. Our lineup is still deep enough, especially after adding Bregman, that we can survive this. And if the Mariners come, offering with, I don't know, I'm just going to throw something out here. I'm not saying this is actually what they would offer, but like, let's say it's Laz and Senja, right? The Cubs go like, all right, well, those two guys don't help us now, but that's just so much value.
But why would they spend all that money on Alex Bregman and then essentially make their team worse? Like, what are they better with? Just Nico Horner or just Alex Bregman?
The Cubs strike me though as like a opportunistic team that's just like, we just care about what's the best value in the moment. That's just kind of how they've operated. I know they traded for Kyle Tucker last year, but still, like, go ahead.
And then didn't re-sign him. Like, there's this idea that the Cubs operate like they're a big market team, like the Mets and the Dodgers. They don't. Like they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they don't spend any money. Obviously they do. They have one of the higher payrolls, but like the luxury tax thing is a real thing they worry about. Whereas like the Dodgers and the Mets, they don't. So the Cubs aren't like that, where it's just like, give up everything or, sign anybody. We just need the best team we can get. They're very budget conscious, but like, do I think that ultimately they're going to trade Nico Horner because of the payroll stuff? No, I don't. But I do think that this idea in general, like, the Cubs are a big market team, which they are, but they don't act like it. So it's kind of tough to give them credit for that.
If I saw this right, I think I saw they are like right under it right now by a thread, the luxury tax. So I figured they would just run this roster out there. And to be honest, I feel like this current roster for the Cubs is almost a little slept on because, look, they're not the Dodgers, but it's a really good roster. That lineup's really good. Hit, and outside of having a true ace in their rotation, you've got 5 real starters, and then you're going to get Justin Steele back mid-year. I just look at that Cubs team and say, like, they got a chance to really compete, especially if they keep Horner.
But again, that's kind of like my thought, and this is mostly just like, this is like the 1 in 1 million, outcome here, right? But it's like they look at that as, we're so deep, we can trade Nico Horner even for a prospect package, and we're totally fine.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I can't imagine that's going to happen, because ultimately, again, last year when they were trying to compete, they were open to trading him, but it was for Luis Castillo, right? And then Dana Brown says, hey, Kyle Tucker's available. And then that, that went away because they had to trade Paredes in that deal. But like, it to me, like they're if they trade Nico, it's going to be for a major leaguer, and just the Mariners in general, whether it's, whether they're shooting for the moon, like you guys think, with like a Logan Gilbert or something like that, or it's more like what I was talking about with Gabe Spire and like a prospect. Either way, I just don't see the Mariners feeling comfortable enough doing that.
Exactly. In summary, Nico Horner is not going to be a Mariner this year, and I think he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. No, I think he stays in Chicago.
I'd say one trade where it happens.
Yeah.
The Tigers give Tarek Skubal. Like, who says no?
That'd be fun.
Who says no?
That'd be fun.
Tigers would have a much easier time extending Nico Horner than would Skubal.
I've still said probably the Tigers. I think the Tigers will probably just keep him.
Well, the Tigers plus they got McGonigal coming up. They got Colt Keith. They had, Glaber came back on the QO. Like,
Nico's better than all of them.
Well, I know he is, but still. All right, so real quick, because I do want to switch gears and ask you guys some fun stuff, but before we do that, Colby and I have kind of pushed this off because we're more so waiting to do like our position previews and stuff like that to get into stuff like this. But Colt Emerson, obviously, like it seems by the day that it's just becoming clearer and clearer that he's going to be a big part of the Mariners' plans in 2026. Obviously, this is a little bit different than when we talk about a Cole Young or someone like that. This is one of the best prospects in the game. Like, this is a legitimate, like, could be a rookie of the year contender, and Emerson. So how do you guys feel about Emerson going into 2026?
I think he should get all the runway he needs to potentially win the job, and it looks like he'll get it. Even with Brendan Donovan, he's the type of player you maybe not make an exception for, because you can't just hand rookies things, but as close to hand someone something as you can. Like, you're going to give him every opportunity to show how good he is. And he showed that last year. He started slow last year in the minors. And then he because he's a great prospect and he's the ultimate baseball dude, makes some mechanical changes and all of a sudden just explodes in the second half. You're going to want to give him an opportunity to showcase that at the highest levels he possibly can. And Julio showed it in 2022. Like, that's the best prospect comp we have for Colt Emerson. Like, those guys have a potential to change your season. So even if he's not up right away, I think that, Colt Emerson is going to be a big part of the Mariners' 2026 story as long as he stays healthy.
It's going to be the number one story all spring training. I think that's pretty safe to say, is all eyes are going to be on him all spring. And I'm guessing, TJ, what you mean by when you say comp to Julio as a prospect, different profiles, but in terms of what their upside could be, it's the closest thing they've had since Julio was in
unless
camp.
You want me to say Jared Kelenic, but I don't think people want me to say Jared Kelenic.
I was going to say, his profile looks more like Kelenic than it does Julio. Julio's a freak.
Right.
Yeah.
Although it's the Kelenic before he started working with Mark McGwire and selling out for power, aka the Kelenic in AA, I think, who, has kept the strikeout rate down, was a gap to gap guy. Yeah. He had power and was a good athlete, but it was before he really started to sell out, I would say.
I think there's also a much cooler head here.
Yeah, I was going to say, Colt's not really the Mark McGwire type. He's more of a stay at home at a Friday night and watch a movie and go to bed.
I was going to say, he is a very, very mature for his years. Obviously, Kelenic had some maturing to do, where Colt's very locked in and he's very head down, serious, and just incredibly driven, which is pretty cool. And that's why I think
so was Kelenic.
Kelenic was super driven, but maybe not. It wasn't a hard work
issue. It was a mentality issue, which based on everything I've heard, and you guys have talked to Colt, right?
But
he's great. But and
everything I've heard is that he's just like a 10-year vet.
Yeah, it's just like with Jared though. What you're kind of what you're saying is like the drive there was coming from a pretty unhealthy place, it seems.
Yeah, it was the overwhelming pressure of need to perform no matter what. It needs to be perfect all of the time. It doesn't seem like Colt has that kind of pressure issue. I think Colt is just like super steady, super focused on the moment, and is not really going to let it get to him, at least from everything we've seen so far. It seems like it's a cool, calm, maybe almost like Cal Raleigh level, focus and drive and just work.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good comp in terms of the mentality mindset. There's some Cal Raleigh there, but yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating what he does all spring and how they handle it, because Colt Emerson's played 40 games above A-ball, which is only a little bit less than what Julio played above A-ball before he was called up. But when you have prospects like this who just defy all odds and show that they're just cut from a different cloth than most of the pack, you have to let those guys have runway a lot of the time, which is why I think it'll be really fascinating to see what Colt does all spring. Now, if he doesn't make the roster out of camp, it's not the end of the world. Maybe he's down until about that Cole Young timeline where they call him up middle to end of May, and that's a heck of a lot of runway he'd get with this team and to get a lot of playing time. But yeah, I think this is a guy that you're going to let him have every opportunity to go win this job. And I think they view it as somebody that it's hard to bank on a rookie, but has the ability to impact the team in a significant way, even at 21 years old.
Yep. I mean, they put him on that AAA roster at the end of the year when they had no reason to do that.
Right.
There was really no reason for them to do that. And to me, that always signaled they're serious. They think Emerson can be a, impact type of player for them in 2026, because there was no earthly reason to put Colt in AAA for a week, but they did it and he performed fine. It's only a week. Who cares? But yeah, Emerson's definitely the biggest storyline entering camp in terms of guys to watch. Obviously, Cal Raleigh's the biggest storyline for the next year, pretty much just by default. But Emerson's definitely the guy to watch. And, I think maybe we might get our You guys remember when Kelnick was fighting to make the team, and they were interviewing Scott on, I think it was on ESPN, and you're like, oh yeah, players will let you know when they're ready. You just have to trust them. And then Kelnick like hit the home run like mid sentence.
Homer. Yeah.
I think we might get a Colt Emerson moment like that at some point during the spring. Jarrett didn't make that team, so it's kind of funny there. But Julio certainly did the following year, and it was the right decision. So.
Well, and it's very
it might have been out of Jared's control there, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's also very important for Colt to at least show you something over the course of this year. Maybe he doesn't have like an insane breakout year or anything like that, but he has to show you something before the year is over, because JP Crawford's a free agent. And if I had to guess, he's probably not coming back. So Colt Emerson's going to be your shortstop of the future starting in 2027. Like, if he can show you something that you can hang your hat on and feel comfortable about going into 2027, that would be massive. I don't think that can be overstated.
Yeah. And like TJ said, once he made that little mechanical adjustment at the plate, and everything took off for him last year. And our guy, Arm Layton's highlighted it, who I know you guys have had on the show, but
love Arm.
Once he, and he's great with this stuff. He really dives into it well. But once Colt changed to the toe tap, that's when all the numbers skyrocketed for him last year, and he just started to accelerate. So hopefully he just stays on a trajectory like that, because if he does, you can dream on some pretty exciting stuff.
There's a non-zero chance you get Kyle Seager pretty early in Colt Emerson's career, and there's upside for more. So
sure.
I'm certainly going to be watching Colt a lot. I just, don't love the idea of a World Series contender relying on a couple rookies at third and second base who really haven't shown their major league quality yet, even though I think they will be. It's just, it's a little nerve wracking.
But if you get Donovan, then you don't have to rely as much.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And for me, like, my bigger issue on that front is Cole Young, Ben Williamson, like that aspect of it. Like, I'm more willing to buy into a Colt Emerson situation, because again, he's one of the best prospects in baseball.
I think Colt has a chance to be, like Colby said, I don't think he's going to be some 5-win player or anything this year, but from July 1st to the middle of August, TJ and I used the sample a decent amount. I think he was a 120 to 125 WRC plus hitter. I mean, over that stretch, he was a top 5 offensive second baseman in baseball. Now, that doesn't tell the whole picture, because obviously then he started to struggle. League adjusted to him a little bit. They essentially sat him all of September. So he'll have things to work on coming into camp. And I'm sure there's things he's working on this offseason. But you saw at 21 years old what he can be. And I thought those 6 weeks he had were, one, pretty telling, and two, pretty exciting little glimpse into who your second baseman of the future can be. Now the key for him this year is obviously just sustain that for longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like,
I'm still a fan. It's just
we literally said on the podcast, we were like, he's going to be a really good player. It's just, is he going to be a really good player for a World Series contender in 2026? That's the question.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Before we let you guys go, I want to ask you a couple fun things. We actually talked about this with Mina Kimes when we had her on in May or whenever it was. And this was before the Seahawks went on to do what the Seahawks have gone on to do. So things have changed a little bit. But I wanted to ask you guys about the current Seattle sports Mount Rushmore. So the just guys that are currently playing. I think the first 3 are very obvious. It's Cal, it's Julio, it's JSN. But who would be that fourth guy for you? Is it another Mariner? Is it a Seahawk? Is it a Kraken? Is it a Storm player? Like, who would it be?
I was kind of thinking Anthony Bradford.
I was going to say it's probably not Damon Williams.
Not anymore.
No.
It might have been.
Not Damon Williams.
Yeah.
Probably
no.
not.
No. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question.
I mean, is it Leonard Williams? Is it Devin Witherspoon? Is it Eamon Worry? I feel like my mind goes to a couple of those guys.
Like, they might be one of the 4 best, but like the defense has such like a collective identity. It's hard to pick out like one.
Yeah.
Right. Because they all are good in a different way.
Mike
It's not
McDonald,
like
or does he
the
have to be a
Legion of
player?
Boom had so much personality of being like them, but the defense as a whole is usually just like one for this group.
Colby actually makes a good point with that. Is it just Mike McDonald? I could actually very, very strongly listen to an argument on that.
Sure.
Even though he hasn't won anything.
Yeah, that's fair, but most of this group hasn't.
Except the
Yeah,
NFC.
it's
you can make-
Seattle
but-
sports, to be fair.
Yeah, but you can make a strong argument. He's the best coach in the NFL right now. And it's probably
Right.
McVay, but like, you know,
Yeah,
he's at least top 3.
sure. I mean, I'm with you. I'd probably go McVay 1, McDonald 2 at this point. But
Yeah.
there's an argument for him. I don't know if I can really put anybody from the Kraken on that on that Mount Rushmore. So I feel like if it's going to come from anywhere, it's probably a Seahawk. And yeah, because like you guys are talking about, can you identify one singular guy of that defense to put on the Mount Rushmore?
But is it not Josh Naylor with how much he has just captured this entire city and fan base?
In terms of popularity, maybe.
Yeah.
Josh Naylor is going to be named one of the 50 best Mariners when they do their thing in August, and the guy's going to have been here for 3 months. Like that's just, I know it's going to drive me nuts, even though it's a stupid, silly thing that really isn't that big of a deal. But it's going to be like, dude's played 54 games here, and he won the Okay, fine, whatever. Like,
What number was that, Colby?
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh
I
yeah.
said, what number was that, Colby?
Yeah.
Which by the way, yeah. Speaking of that list, we've actually spent some time this offseason talking about this. But if we see some of the names that we know we're going to see on this top 50 and people leave A-Rod off the list, I mean, I might lose it. I might legitimately lose it.
Yeah, agreed.
We started talking about this at some point in the offseason. And man, I mean, there are still so many people that are so furious with even bringing up the name A-Rod. It's like, look, guys, I get it. Like, I know why I understand why people still have some animosity there, but like, he was arguably at his peak, the best player the franchise ever had. You're gonna say he wasn't a top 50 player.
Gary Hill himself would not commit that A-Rod should be in the Mariners Hall of Fame.
Dude, like,
and it's just like, really, Gary? Like that's
Come on, Gary.
it feels a little petty at this point to not give that guy his. I'm not saying you have to retire his number.
yeah, but like, is he any different than any player ever who's left in free agency? It's like,
I mean,
okay,
no. Ken Griffey Jr. literally quit on you twice, and he's like the most popular player in franchise history.
sure.
I mean, like, so we can forgive him for that, but we can't forgive A-Rod for taking 3 times the amount of money the Mariners offered him.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I just, whatever. The whole
Who do
A-Rod
we,
thing bugs me too.
Who do we think is going to be the most ridiculous player on there?
We're hoping Fernando Rodney.
So that was the other question that I had for you guys. So we filled out our ballot on a show a few weeks ago. I don't know if you guys saw that, but we filled out our ballot,
Maybe
and
we should do that, Lyle.
and we picked one guy that, like, it feels disrespectful to call them random, but just not a guy that you would expect to be on that list. We wanted to pick one guy, so we picked Fernando Rodney. We're hashtag riding with Rodney, but like, I was wondering if you guys have like a random weirdo, whatever, that you want to put on your top 50 list, just because.
Tom Wilhelmson.
Ooh, the bartender. Hell yeah.
He was
he's
really
on there.
good. I don't know if he's one of the 50 best players they've ever had, but as we'll keep coming back to, this is not a franchise with a storied history and a lot of great players. So there's going to be some names on there. Honestly, I would go with the
top
bartender.
heavy.
He might be somewhere from like 45 to 50 in terms of greatest.
I mean, how many of these 01 guys that were on the team but not like the focal point are you going to find on the list? Are you going to find a Mark McLemore on this list? I'm just trying to think through some of these names, just because
I think we put Mark McLemore on our list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like after you get past 25, 26, it's a whole lot of like,
right. I mean,
Yeah, I think I had 26 for Shores.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I'll even throw one more out there. This is probably even a little crazier than TJ's because Wilhelmson was here a decent while. But if you're talking about relievers, are you going to find somebody like Brandon League on there if you're thinking of random names? I mean, he had a couple good years.
Manny's very happy with that. One of our users.
So,
Another good question. How high did JP rank?
Yeah, he definitely is in the top 50, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Is he
think
in
they're
the
going to rank
top
him, but
He was one of my for sures.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's a he's top what 12 all time or top 13 all time in WAR for the franchise.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind
mean,
of crazy.
I think he's a future Mariners Hall of Famer.
That's crazy.
I mean, it is like I'm a big Hall of Fame guy in general for like the actual Hall of Fame, but for a team Hall of Fame, like, yeah,
Let
JP
everyone
should
in.
be there, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Wilson's in the team Hall of Fame.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I don't know. Mike Zunino, is he a top 50 guy?
Mike, yes, probably.
Yeah.
He was the
Probably,
best catcher in
right?
franchise history before
Cal.
Cal.
Yeah.
I think we left Z off.
Okay.
I think we only put Cal and Dan on as the catchers.
Okay.
But I would have put
so.
Z on probably.
I know we talked about Z and we talked about Valley. The other thing too is that it was really hard for us is that like we don't know anything about 1980s Mariners baseball. You know, like obviously Alvin Davis.
We didn't miss much.
Yeah, I mean that's the point. We talked about this with Gary Hill, how like the 80s are kind of underrepresented in like Mariners history. Aside from Alvin Davis, like nobody wants to talk about that era. And it's like, I don't know, Mark Langston's from that area. He was really good.
Oh.
You know, they had some dudes. So
that's a decent one. I mean, if anything, Mariners fans should be in debt to that guy. Not only did he get you Randy Johnson, but then I don't want to say blew it, but the Mariners scored their runs off him in the like the winner take all 95 games. So
Luis Sojo's Little League Grand Slam under the glove of JT Snow.
Luis Sojo. Yeah, exactly. So
Sojo's on the list too, by the way.
See, that's another perfect example of like how many franchises is he going to be on a top 50 list for somebody like Luis Sojo, but for the Mariners, he's probably on it. Like I would say, like I would say if I was going to pick one really random name, it'd be somebody like Mark McLemore or I mean, that's the most niche one I can think of. Are all the starters from the 01 team going to be on there? Like, you know, Sealy, Freddie.
You can vote for them, but
right. Yeah. But you don't think all those guys get on there?
No, Sealy didn't make it for us.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we just put Freddie and Jamie. Like we didn't put like Gilmesh on there. Or,
sure.
You know, like Joel
Is
Pinheiro.
Bryan Wu already a top 50 Mariner?
Yeah, the Wu and Wu and Miller were two that we were like, are they there yet? Maybe. I forget. I don't remember
which ones
on there.
Yeah, I forget which current guys we put on there. We might have put Wu on there.
Put Logan. We put. I think we ultimately said you have to put Luis on there.
Kirby.
So I think we ended up with.
I think Kirby was. Yeah, I think
Gilbert.
we put Kirby on there. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember if we put Wu on there. I don't think we put Miller though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we need to do this for an episode.
I was gonna say for as dead as this offseason is right now in terms of transactions, this is a great idea. Shout out to you guys for doing this. This is fun.
You guys should pick your own candidate. We'll see if we can get them on the top 50. We're hashtag riding with.
I think we got about a month before voting closes.
Yeah, February.
I'll do Tom Wilhelmson.
There you go.
Tom Wilhelmson. There you go. All right.
Come up with your hashtag.
Yeah. We got ours writing with Rodney.
Love it.
Well, guys, real quick, what's coming up on Marine Layer? What's coming up on Bullpen Banter? I assume you guys are going to FanFest, right?
Yeah, we'll be at FanFest. Not sure what day yet we'll be there. We'll be at spring training if people are down there the final week of February. So if you want to see us, like that's a great time to do it because we are always around at the complex.
Anything else coming up? You guys got interviews or anything scheduled?
I'm sure once we get down to Peoria, we'll try to make some stuff happen. But yeah, I would say like TJ said, for the most part, it's just FanFest, getting ready for spring training, keeping up with a lot of the offseason stuff as we roll through the winter here. But like you guys, just waiting for more moves to be made for the season to get rolling and hopefully another good year of Mariners baseball.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. For those watching or listening, you can find the Marine Layer podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. Their baseball trivia channel, Bullpen Banter, is also on YouTube. Plus, you can find all their short form content, which they are killing it with, on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts on both the Marine Layer podcast and Bullpen Banter accounts. Thanks again, guys. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for having us.
Always fun.
All right, thank you again to TJ and Lyle for hopping on with us and talking some M's. Not a whole lot going on, but still had a lot of fun talking with those guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And once again, if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.